Something's happening to you that feels like slow death. You're trying to date, putting yourself out there, meeting people, having conversations, going through the motions that everyone else seems to navigate effortlessly, but every interaction feels like being suffocated. Every date leaves you more depleted than before. Every conversation skims across surfaces you desperately want to dive beneath. You're talking about jobs and hobbies and weekend plans, while what you actually want to discuss is why we're here, what gives life meaning, what wounds we're carrying, what shadows we're facing. But you can't say that, can't go there, because modern dating operates at a level of depth that feels like drowning in shallow water to someone like you. You're Sophia, empath. You've done the work, developed genuine consciousness, achieved psychological depth, and now you're discovering that this development, which was supposed to expand your life, has actually made you incompatible with the entire system of connection that modern culture has constructed. Carl Jung warned about this, documented the agony of conscious individuals trying to operate in unconscious systems. But you're living it, experiencing the specific torture of trying to find intimate connection in culture that has systematized the avoidance of genuine intimacy. And what you're feeling isn't pickiness. Isn't you being difficult or too intense or impossible to please. It's the silent agony of someone who speaks different language, being forced to communicate in system designed for people who haven't developed the consciousness you've achieved. Today I'm going to reveal what Jung understood about why modern dating is uniquely devastating for Sophia empaths, why the entire structure is designed to exclude depth, what specific tortures you're experiencing that unconscious people never feel, and whether there's any way to find genuine connection within system built to prevent exactly the kind of meeting you're seeking. Jung documented that as individuals develop psychological consciousness, they necessarily become incompatible with certain social structures, not because they're judgmental, not because they've become too evolved to participate, but because the structures themselves are organized around maintaining unconsciousness. And modern dating, in its current iteration, is one of the most perfectly designed systems for preventing the kind of depth that conscious individuals require. Jung observed his most developed patients attempting to date. These were people who had done years of inner work, who operated from genuine self-awareness, who could engage with psychological complexity, who were capable of authentic intimacy, and they would report remarkably similar experiences. Modern dating felt impossible, not difficult, impossible. Every interaction violated something essential in them. Every date required them to perform unconsciousness they no longer had access to. Every attempt at connection felt like being forced to shrink themselves to fit spaces that were psychologically too small. They would describe the surface-level conversations as torturous. Being asked about their job, their hobbies, where they grew up, what they do for fun. Questions designed to gather biographical data while avoiding anything that might touch psychological depth. And they'd answer, would perform the expected social script, but inside they'd be screaming. Because what they actually wanted to know was, what terrifies you? What have you survived? What are you avoiding? What wounds are you carrying? What does your shadow look like? What gives your life meaning beyond surface accomplishments? But you can't ask those questions in modern dating, can't go to that depth, because the entire system is designed to maintain comfortable distance, to keep things light, to avoid intensity, to prevent the kind of vulnerability that Sophia empaths naturally operate from. And so these conscious individuals would sit through date after date, conversation after conversation, performing surface engagement, while dying inside from the relational starvation of never being met at their actual depth. They would come to Jung devastated, not because they couldn't find someone attractive, not because they couldn't maintain conversation, but because the entire dating system felt like being forced to breathe air that didn't contain enough oxygen. They were slowly suffocating in an atmosphere of enforced superficiality, and they couldn't understand why everyone else seemed fine with it, why other people could engage at these surface levels and apparently find satisfaction, while they felt like they were being psychologically strangled by the shallowness. Jung's response was both validating and devastating. He would tell them, "You're not crazy. The system is designed for unconscious people, for individuals who haven't done depth work, who don't operate from psychological awareness, who are comfortable with surface engagement because they're not conscious of the depths beneath. And you can't go back to that unconsciousness. Can't perform it anymore even if you wanted to." So, modern dating, as it's currently structured, is fundamentally incompatible with who you've become. Jung identified 3 specific aspects of modern dating culture that make it uniquely torturous for Sophia empaths. Understanding these aspects is crucial because they reveal why your suffering isn't about you being too picky or too intense. It's about genuine incompatibility between your consciousness level and the system's design. The first aspect is enforced superficiality. Modern dating culture explicitly prohibits depth in early interactions. You're supposed to keep things light, fun, easy, not too serious, not too heavy, not too intense. The social rules are clear. Don't talk about trauma, don't discuss psychology, don't get philosophical, don't go deep too fast, stay on surface. Gather biographical information, assess physical attraction, determine basic compatibility, but don't actually meet the person beneath the persona they're performing. For unconscious people, this works fine. They're comfortable operating at surface level because they don't have conscious awareness of their own depths anyway. They can talk about jobs and hobbies authentically because they genuinely identify with those surface markers. They can engage in light banter because they're not aware of the heavy material underneath. The superficiality isn't violation for them, it's just how they operate normally. But for Sophia empath, enforced superficiality is torture because you're aware of the depths constantly. You can see beneath the surface performance to the wounds, patterns, shadows operating underneath. You can perceive the psychological complexity that the person isn't naming. And you're being forced to pretend you don't see it, to engage only with the shallow presentation while ignoring the depths you're naturally attuned to. Jung documented that this creates profound internal split for conscious individuals. You're sitting across from someone, engaging in surface conversation about their career or their travel experiences, but you're simultaneously perceiving their attachment wounds, their unprocessed trauma, their defensive patterns, their shadow material, and you can't speak to what you're actually seeing. Can't engage with the psychological reality that's obvious to you. Have to perform as if the surface is all that exists, while your consciousness is screaming about all the depth that's being ignored. This split is exhausting, depleting, creates sense of profound inauthenticity because you're not showing up as you actually are. You're shrinking your consciousness down to match the enforced superficiality, hiding your depth perception, pretending to be satisfied with shallow exchange when actually you're dying for genuine psychological meeting. And you're doing this on date after date, conversation after conversation, until you feel like you're losing yourself in the performance of unconsciousness you can no longer authentically access. The second aspect is emotional performance requirements. Modern dating has specific emotional tone that's considered appropriate. You're supposed to be upbeat, positive, light, fun to be around. Not too serious, not too heavy, definitely not too vulnerable. The person who shows genuine emotion, who speaks authentically about their struggles, who allows real vulnerability to surface, they're labeled as too much or red flag or trauma dumping. This emotional regulation requirement serves specific function for unconscious people. It allows them to assess whether someone will be emotionally comfortable to be around, whether they'll maintain pleasant atmosphere, whether they'll require difficult emotional processing. Unconscious people want partners who won't destabilize their emotional equilibrium, who won't force them to face difficult feelings, who will keep things emotionally manageable, so they select for emotional performance. For people who can maintain upbeat presentation, regardless of what's actually happening underneath. But Sophia, empaths can't perform emotional inauthenticity anymore. Your development has made you allergic to emotional dishonesty. You can't pretend to feel things you don't feel. Can't maintain cheerful facade when you're actually struggling. Can't perform emotional simplicity when you're aware of emotional complexity. Your consciousness won't allow the level of emotional falseness that modern dating requires. Jung emphasized that this creates impossible double bind. If you show up authentically, revealing actual emotional state, acknowledging genuine complexity, you violate dating culture's emotional performance requirements. You get labeled as too intense, too heavy, too serious. People retreat because you're not maintaining the required emotional tone. But if you perform the expected emotional simplicity, if you hide your actual emotional reality to match cultural requirements, you betray yourself. You engage in emotional dishonesty that violates your own integrity. And you attract people who are responding to performance rather than reality. Either way you lose. Either you're authentic and get rejected for being too much, or you perform and attract people who want the performance rather than your actual self. There's no way to win within system that requires emotional inauthenticity as price of entry. And Sophia, empaths feel this impossibility acutely. Feel trapped between authenticity that gets rejected and performance that feels like slow psychological death. The third aspect is psychological unconsciousness as norm. Modern dating culture assumes unconsciousness as baseline. People haven't done their work, haven't faced their shadows, haven't processed their trauma, haven't developed self-awareness. This isn't treated as limitation, it's treated as normal. And anyone operating from higher consciousness level is seen as aberrant, as too much, as unrealistic in their expectations. This creates culture where psychological awareness is actually disadvantage in dating market. If you've done your work, if you understand your patterns, if you can recognize and take responsibility for your shadow, you're incompatible with majority of dating pool who haven't achieved that development. But instead of being valued for your consciousness, you're penalized for it. Because you can see clearly what unconscious people need to deny. You recognize patterns they're defending against acknowledging. You perceive dynamics they're invested in remaining blind to. And when you attempt to engage at consciousness level you've achieved, when you try to have conversations about psychological patterns or shadow work or genuine self-awareness, you're met with incomprehension or resistance. People don't understand what you're talking about, or they feel attacked by your awareness. Or they retreat because your consciousness level requires level of self-examination they're not ready for. Jung documented that this creates profound isolation for developed individuals in dating context. You're surrounded by potential partners who seem fine, seem functional, seem like they should be viable options. But the moment you attempt genuine psychological engagement, the incompatibility becomes obvious. They're operating from unconsciousness that your consciousness can't interface with. And you're left alone, not because people don't exist, but because people at your consciousness level are statistically rare in general population and even rarer in active dating pool. Here's what actually happens when Sophia empath tries to navigate modern dating. You create profile. Use words that signal depth, growth, consciousness, authenticity, depth, meaning. Hope to attract people operating at similar level. But those words mean different things to different people. Unconscious person reads growth and thinks it means someone who goes to yoga. Reads depth and thinks it means someone who likes philosophical discussions as intellectual exercise. They don't recognize that you're signaling genuine psychological development. So you attract people who use the same language but mean completely different things. You go on dates. Attempt surface engagement required by cultural norms. Ask and answer the biographical questions. Perform appropriate emotional tone. Try to be light and fun while dying inside. And you're simultaneously assessing whether this person has done any genuine inner work, whether they have capacity for psychological depth, whether they can operate at consciousness level you require. But you can't assess this directly. Can't ask, have you integrated your shadow? Can't inquire about their attachment wounds or trauma processing or capacity for genuine vulnerability. So you try subtle probes. Drop psychological concepts into conversation, reference therapy or inner work, ask questions that might reveal self-awareness or lack thereof, and you watch their response. Most people don't engage. They deflect, change subject, or respond in ways that make clear they're not operating from genuine psychological consciousness, and you feel the familiar sinking feeling. Another person who seems fine on surface, but lacks the depth you need. Occasionally, someone engages with your probes, shows what appears to be psychological awareness, uses therapy language or references personal growth, and you feel spike of hope. Maybe this person is different. Maybe they've done the work. Maybe depth is possible. But as you continue conversation, you realize they're performing consciousness, not embodying it. They know the language, have read the books, can discuss the concepts, but they haven't actually done the integration work, haven't genuinely faced their shadow, haven't achieved the embodied consciousness that your recognition was hoping for. Jung documented this pattern extensively. Conscious individuals repeatedly encountering people who can perform consciousness language but don't operate from genuine psychological development. And each encounter leaves the conscious person more depleted, more discouraged, more certain that modern dating system simply doesn't contain what they're seeking. Then comes the exhaustion. Date after date of surface engagement, conversation after conversation that never touches depth, performance after performance of emotional tone that doesn't match your actual state. And you start to break down. Start to question whether you're asking for something impossible, whether your standards are unrealistic, whether you should just accept surface connection and stop hoping for depth. Because everyone else seems to manage, everyone else seems to find partners, and you're alone, unable to settle for what they settle for, but also unable to find what you actually need. Jung identified specific signs that distinguish whether someone is Sophia empath, struggling with modern dating, versus someone using consciousness language to rationalize relational avoidance. Understanding this distinction is crucial because both look similar on surface but have completely different psychological realities underneath. The first sign is that genuine Sophia empath wants connection desperately, isn't avoiding intimacy, isn't using depth requirements to stay safe from vulnerability, is genuinely seeking to meet someone at their actual level, is willing to be vulnerable, to open, to risk, but finds that modern dating culture makes genuine meeting impossible. The desire for connection is real. The willingness to try is genuine. The suffering from not finding it is authentic. But someone using consciousness as defense doesn't actually want connection, wants to appear open while remaining closed, uses depth requirements to ensure no one ever qualifies, finds problems with everyone that justify not risking real vulnerability. The consciousness language is cover for avoidance, and the suffering isn't from not finding depth. It's from the internal conflict between wanting to appear open and being too defended to actually connect. The second sign is flexibility versus rigidity in how consciousness is recognized. Genuine Sophia empath can recognize psychological development in diverse forms, doesn't require specific language or framework, can see genuine self-awareness in person who's never been to therapy, can perceive real shadow integration in someone who doesn't use Jungian terminology, can recognize authentic consciousness that's expressed differently than their own. But someone using consciousness as defense is rigid, requires exact markers, demands specific language, won't recognize development that doesn't match their precise framework, uses minor differences to eliminate possibilities. The rigidity isn't about genuine discernment, it's about maintaining impossibility, about ensuring no one quite qualifies, so vulnerability is never actually required. The third sign is whether the person maintains capacity for genuine vulnerability. Real Sophia empath, despite struggles with modern dating, remains open, remains willing to risk, remains capable of authentic vulnerability when circumstances allow it. The problem isn't their inability to be vulnerable. The problem is system that doesn't create conditions for vulnerability to be safe or reciprocated. But person using consciousness as defense has lost capacity for vulnerability, has become so protected, so defended, so closed that even perfect match couldn't reach them. Uses dating system's superficiality as excuse for their own inability to open. Blames culture for what's actually internal defensive structure. The consciousness language provides sophisticated cover for what's actually avoidance of all genuine intimacy. If you're Sophia empath genuinely struggling with modern dating, Jung would tell you that your suffering is valid. The system is genuinely designed to exclude depth, to prevent psychological consciousness from interfacing with dating process, to maintain superficiality as norm and treat depth as violation. This isn't your imagination. Isn't you being too picky? Is genuine structural incompatibility between your consciousness and culture's romantic connection system. He would also tell you that you have limited options. You can't change the entire system, can't make modern dating culture suddenly value depth, can't force unconscious majority to do inner work. You're operating in an environment that's fundamentally hostile to what you need, and you have to make peace with that reality while determining how to navigate it. Your first option is strategic superficiality. You can learn to engage with surface level required by dating culture while maintaining internal awareness that its performance can develop capacity to participate in biographical conversations and light emotional tone without betraying your actual consciousness, can treat early dating as assessment period where you're gathering information about whether depth might be possible later while engaging appropriately for current stage. This requires compartmentalization that feels uncomfortable, requires you to operate at level below your actual consciousness temporarily. But it's strategic rather than betrayal. You're not pretending depth doesn't matter. You're acknowledging that modern dating culture requires surface engagement first, and that rejecting this requirement eliminates all possibilities before you can determine which ones might have depth potential. Your second option is alternative pathways. You can bypass modern dating culture entirely, can seek connection through communities organized around psychological development, spiritual growth, therapeutic work, can find people in contexts where consciousness is already valued, rather than trying to find conscious people within system designed for unconscious engagement. This is more aligned with your values, but drastically limits your options, because most people aren't in these alternative spaces, and even within them, consciousness levels vary widely. But at least you're starting from context where depth is already normalized, rather than having to hope unconscious person in mainstream dating pool happens to have done work they're not signaling. Your third option is acceptance of rarity and patience. You can acknowledge that what you need is statistically rare, that finding another Sophia empath operating at your consciousness level is improbable, not impossible, and that you may have to go through hundreds of surface encounters before finding one genuine match. Can maintain your standards while accepting that meeting them might take years. Can date with realistic expectations about how rare true depth compatibility actually is. This requires enormous patience and tolerance for disappointment, requires you to engage with system you find torturous while knowing that most attempts will lead nowhere. But it keeps you in the possibility of eventually finding what you seek, while being realistic about how long that might take and how many painful experiences you'll have to endure along the way. Your fourth option is conscious solitude. You can choose to not participate in modern dating at all, can decide that system is too violating to engage with. That performing superficiality required is too costly to your integrity. That strategic compartmentalization feels like too much betrayal of who you are. Can build complete life without romantic partnership rather than continually subjecting yourself to system that violates you. This is valid choice. Isn't giving up, isn't settling, is making peace with being alone rather than being continuously violated by attempting connection in system designed to prevent the kind of connection you need. Many Sophia empaths choose this. Find it preferable to the silent agony of trying to force themselves into dating culture that feels like slow psychological death. Jung emphasized that there's no right answer. Each Sophia empath has to determine what's tolerable for them, what compromises they're willing to make, what costs they're willing to bear. Whether strategic superficiality feels like acceptable temporary performance or intolerable betrayal. Whether alternative pathways provide sufficient options or feel too limiting. Whether patience with mainstream dating is sustainable or becomes too depleting. Whether conscious solitude feels like peace or like giving up. The only wrong choice is denying your reality, pretending the agony isn't real, forcing yourself to continue participating in system that violates you while telling yourself you should be able to handle it. Believing that if you were more evolved, more integrated, more conscious, you'd be comfortable with surface engagement that actually destroys you. Your suffering is valid. Your incompatibility with modern dating culture is real, and you deserve to make choices that honor your actual reality rather than forcing yourself to conform to system designed for people at different consciousness level. The silent agony is real. The suffocation of enforced superficiality is genuine. The depletion from emotional performance is actual. The isolation from operating at consciousness level the system can't accommodate is valid. You're not crazy, not too picky, not impossible to please. You're conscious individual trying to find intimate connection in culture that has systematized the prevention of genuine intimacy. And that's genuinely, legitimately, devastatingly difficult in ways that unconscious people will never understand or validate.